I was told to be positive, guys. I was given notes. Shit, it's not working! Welcome back to another episode of 1980s Now, a weekly examination of the importance of 1980s pop culture and, get this, its continued influence today. Hey, my name is Will, and joining me as always are my friends and co-hosts, Kat and John. Hey, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hey, friends.
I got a brush handy in case I need to fix my hair, kind of like the Fonz.
Hey.
You know, my dad always carried around, I don't think my dad was a greaser by any means. But he always carried around, I think to this day, still a black comb in his pocket. I always thought that was so cool. Because the Fonz did that, you know? The Fonz wouldn't ever fix his hair, of course.
Now that you mention it, I think my dad was a greaser. Because not only did he always carry around a black comb in his pocket, he also, more than once, I have seen a roll of Winston's in his sleeve. No. Oh. The cigarettes rolled up in your sleeve, you know?
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was a thing.
Wow.
So you remember Schneider on One Day at a Time had something, probably a pack of cigarettes in his sleeve at the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Bowser, I'm pretty sure Bowser and Sean and I had something. I don't think it was smokes. I don't think he ever showed what it is. But as a result, John, you're right. When I was a kid, I would roll stuff up in my white T-shirt.
Deck of cards.
It was like the epitome of cool. Deck of cards.
Or his Star Wars trading cards.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
My dad was definitely a greaser, and he used to talk about having the duck butt hair.
Duck's ass, the DA.
The duck's ass, yeah.
It's actually the back. It's actually the back.
It was the back. I don't know.
The way you feather it together, it looks like a duck's behind.
All right.
Well, he had one in the front, so he was making a statement.
You couldn't tell whether he was coming or going, but it looked like a duck's asshole on his face.
Facts.
And just like everything else, that came back in the 80s. You know, I think I'm more aware of that because kids, you know, guys in my class did that. And I remember girls commenting on it or like, hey, I can help you do a DA. You know, feathering your hair.
And did you let them?
Oh, no, not my hair. I didn't have, when I was in probably fourth grade or younger.
Nobody touches Will's hair.
That's right.
No. You're gay. Hey.
Nobody touches my stuff. But I think it was like third grade. I still had longish hair, but probably fourth forward. It was shorter enough that I don't think that you could do that. Or too long to do it. I don't know. I didn't let anybody touch my hair.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You let me touch your hair one time. Just once.
I was older and more mature then. And you're right. It was just once.
Just the one he learned from his mistake.
That's right. Hey, by the way, we're not just about this, whatever this was, but we're also talking about current news stories related to 1980s media, including Bon Jovi Forgeries, the 1980s musical that just won a Tony. 1980s, I should put in quotes. The 1980s musical that was just canceled. Again, in quotes. And this time, no quotes, the 1980s musical that is headed to Broadway. Plus, we're going to be talking about the Star Wars action figure that just broke an auction record.
Oh.
And of course, along those lines, we're going to pause and give our feel. Oh, no, spoilers. Oh. Impressive. We'll give our thoughts and feelings about all those things and also invite commentary from the folks in the Peanut Gallery, known as the YouTube and Facebook audience that joined us today. Hello, everybody. Thanks for being with us here.
Hi, everyone.
Make sure I have that screen on my
As Owl says, always great to see all my friends on Wednesday.
And us too.
Yeah.
We're just the the vehicle for seeing the friends.
Right. He gets a group of friends together and watches us screw around. Yeah. That's
Wow.
great.
Yeah. I see Karen says she's sorry she missed last week. Had a family birthday party to, and happy birthday, family member of Karen.
Yes.
And she also says, get out the Cerveza Cristal. Cerveza Cristal.
I'm going to choose to forgive Karen for missing last week. So that's just me.
On behalf of her, John, thank you for that. We appreciate that.
Sure.
Hey, before we get started on these topics, I wanted to make a quick announcement. Hey, this is just an early announcement. Just one day, I'm telling you, something's going to happen. His eyes are going to light up. He's just going to wander off screen.
I love it.
You're going to hear a door slam, car start up, and then we're going to turn on the news and just wait.
Florida man.
Look, it's long in advance, but I didn't want to delay because we've got some folks to thank in connection with this. But for now, I want to say that hey, join us in September, September 7th and 8th in Oaks, Pennsylvania, which is just about a half hour outside of Philadelphia, at RetroCon 2024. The 1980s Now gang will be there. John, are your friends from Gen X Grown Up joining you too, or no?
No.
Okay, so
I'll be all yours.
Right, all right.
Aw, for once.
But hey, so come see us. Come say hi. We're going to be doing a panel about something interesting, something nostalgic, something fascinating and hilarious and dark and scary, and all the things that you want it to be. And what is
TBD?
That? And please tell us what that is. I mean,
Yeah, tell us.
we got no ideas.
Really helps.
But hey, in addition to us, you can see some actual stars that you love from your youth, including Lee Majors and Lindsay Wagner. Both the Bionic Man and the Bionic Woman will be there. And additionally, and I'm really excited about seeing these folks in person, the stars of The Last Starfighter, which turns 40 this year, Catherine Mary Stewart and Lance Guest.
Woohoo!
And we talked to them on the show previously. We talked to her a couple of times. But I've never... Which is going to be a new horn for this, John. I've never met either of them in person. So I'm excited to do that. And I've got my Last Starfighter mini poster over here on my wall right here.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring that to get that signed.
Good call. Good call.
Ooh, nice.
With a real autograph, too, Bon Jovi.
Ooh, burn.
Oh. And after you get the autograph.
That was easy.
John, I blame you, John. You open this door where you could just do anything, or at least Kat thinks that. She thinks that this means anything.
I do.
Well, here's the thing. You edit the show. You could take out any of this foolishness if you wanted to.
Shit.
So
I want to make you stick to Trello cards just so you can avoid doing this to me.
Oh, no.
Hey, go to retrocons.plural.com to find out more. And we'll put a link in the show notes as well. All right, that's it. Hey, let's get started in earnest on the show with 1980s news. I'm really excited about being there for lots of reasons.
Woo! I'm so excited. I'm going to start a countdown at some point, and I'll just send you guys a number every day.
yeah.
Yeah. Like I did last year for SSPE.
Kat, start it after the script is written for the show. Okay? Otherwise, I'm just going to
It'll be way too ominous.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
I only have X number of days to choose a topic. Oh, no.
I don't want to create anxiety.
Hopefully some of our friends are in the area or can make the trip. I know we have actual friends that are in the New York and New Jersey area that are going to be making the trip. It's only 2 hours from New York City by way of car. Hey, okay, so this week on 1980s News, as reported by NewJersey.com, speaking of the Garden State, Bon Jovi fans claim forgeries.
Oh.
So some fans are claiming that the signed editions of Bon Jovi's new albums contain fake autographs from Mr. Bon Jovi. And they're addressing this matter in the most effective, responsible, contemporary way possible. They've taken to social media to accuse the band's label of deception.
There you go.
Yep.
I guess that's a means for shaming some people into things, but sometimes you just reach out to the offending party and say, "Hey, can you square this for me? Make this right." Hopefully, these people tried that first, but
Right. Yeah, that was my hope too.
I wouldn't put a big bet on that one.
yeah, well, I guess whatever. The problem, of course, is I guess until you see enough momentum, you're not sure that your experience is unique. And sometimes we see people complain about things that are, individual in nature. And so get that addressed versus creating some sort of uproar and,
Right.
hard feelings against the brand that may just have made a simple mistake. Now, this one seems to be a little different than that, although I don't know. I think deception is probably a little strong. The claim is that UMG used AutoPen to, quote, forge the signature of the Jersey rock star. One Twitter user wrote, "Dear UMG, it's costing you a lot of money to lie about your products." How many people are getting a refund on this? I know your time is so precious, but lying to fans ain't the win. Nobody wants auto-penned.
Okay,
I don't know. There you go.
fine. But come on. First of all, is there proof? Is this actually true? Are they actually not genuine?
Well, according to a thread on Autograph Live, a site that supposedly helps folks distinguish the difference between real and fake autographs, they have cited at least 6 what they believe are templates for auto-pen signatures.
Okay.
And Kevin Keating, who's the principal autograph authenticator for Professional Sports Authenticator, confirmed to Clicked, whatever that is, CLICT, that some of the autographs were done by AutoPen due to a machine, and he could tell because of machine-like tremors and clear starts and stops. He said if these autographs were brought to him for authentication, he would deem them, quote, not authentic.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
If watching Pawn Stars has taught me anything, it's first of all, it's live ink is the first thing you check. But then you're looking for those little hesitations, those little, that either a machine would or I'm not the expert, but I watched the expert do his cool thing, and he's looking for isn't there hesitation, or is there like varying pressure or thickness or whatever things a person would do that AutoPen might not do as well, and further would do it exactly the same over and over and over and over, which would probably lead to finding, like you said, like the 6 that they can identify maybe that are can follow the same characteristics.
Yeah. They provided some examples online, and they didn't. There were no explanations or, exhibits or markings to distinguish one from the other. But I did note that you could see 2 or 3 in a row that were identical.
Oh, okay.
As far as the size and the swooshes and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, the strange thing to me is that the special editions, the autographed edition, the special edition, the autographed edition of Forever, cost the same amount as the standard edition. But some fans say it's not about the price. They feel like they've been lied to instead.
Yeah.
Also, some fans are complaining that the signature is actually on the sleeve rather than on the album itself. And some are complaining that the signature was printed on a sort of darker background with black ink, making it nearly impossible to actually see the quote-unquote autograph.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I used to be quite an autograph hound back in my college days when I went to lots of sci-fi conventions, and I was, it was like I was a tick list. Like, I don't have this actor yet from this series. I don't have this actor, and I would, on different things, on shirts and pictures and whatever. And now those I got myself, right? So someone could go, "Well, that's a fake." I'm like, "All right, if you think it is, that's okay." But I know, and I'm not selling it anyway. It's mine. But I get the sentiment. There's one thing to say that, well, it didn't cost you any extra, but I would almost look, if it's not a genuine autograph, you really just scribbled on my record. Like, I only want someone to write on it if it's the celebrity. If it's not the celebrity, just leave it blank. Leave it alone, because it is. It's going to rub you the wrong way forever to go, it's not real. I get it why people are upset, but.
So, and no one paid extra for this, right? It wasn't so
but they did buy them. They could have bought them specifically because they got a chance at getting that autograph,
right?
Even though I tend to agree with that sentiment of the tweet, which was, you spent a lot of effort telling us it was an autograph. You'd have been better off just not.
Good point. Yeah. Don't say you're going to do something and have it be not the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always avoided products, John, to your point, that have clearly it's you know it's not an autograph. It's just part of the product is the signature.
It's printed on there,
It's just
right?
turned off to me. Yeah, whether it's not necessarily albums, but I've seen other things like photographs or posters that have that kind of thing. It's like, no, why would I want that?
Baseballs or bats or
Yeah,
whatever, things
it's
like that. It's like, oh, it's not real. It's a reproduction of all these people's autographs.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I can look at that online. I don't need a physical fake. I can't.
Yeah, and then when I show it to people, am I explaining every time that I know that's not a real autograph? It's just fake. It's
Before you bust my chops.
It's just how I bought it. For their part, when asked about these claims, a spokesperson for John Bon Jovi said, "quote John has posted often," and with this statement, he included a picture of the singer appearing to sign copies of the album.
Okay.
So that's
Appearing
the proof.
to.
What it is there's like a stack of CDs. And John's looking at them like literally his face is like,
Yeah.
oh shit.
So many.
He's got a marker in one.
Yep. Did you get the picture? All right, I'm out of here.
Exhibit A, Your Honor. Yeah, I know. Come on, so silly. That doesn't mean shit.
And behind him is the auto pen machine.
Here is John
just
turning
can't
on
see
the
that.
auto pen. Yeah.
The only autographs I have are John, George, and Mo from Gen X Grown Up, and like Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse from years ago.
All the clowns. Perfect.
Yeah.
All the caricatures of actual people.
Yeah, I have an autograph of John and Mo as well. End of list.
And for a short time, yeah, I'll leave that go.
Very short time.
Let's see. Brandon says, who knows what it is? Who knows what is what when it comes to autographs? As a sports card collector, nothing is 100% authentic unless they have a certificate of authenticity. Yeah, now, and unlike in the past, in the recent years, when you go to a con, they have an organization there that for a fee will authenticate the signature. Most often you're going straight from someone's table where they signed it and bringing it to this group, but they still scrutinize it there. They don't just assume you got it from that celebrity who happens to be there.
I've been to some of those conventions, and often they will literally have a gopher who accompanies you in the line, watches the person sign it, and walks with you back to the authentication booth. So now there's a witness, and it protects the integrity of the verification company. Yeah.
I've seen that as well. And I did see in one instance someone come over with someone from the authentication company to confirm. They were like, look, he brought this over, but we're not sure. We thought this is, did you sign this? You did? Oh, okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure. Because something was a little off. But these people are signing literally thousands of autographs in a day. So by the end of the day or the weekend, I can imagine it being a little different and more, But anyway.
So many celebrity autographs that degraded over the course of the day.
Yeah, right.
Mine would.
Yeah. So many times I got to see John Delancey, the actor, at conventions, and he would be signing things. And many times the autograph was John D. Delancey. And by the end of the thing, it was just like J scribble scribble D. You know, it was nothing. It's just, well, I scribbled it, therefore it's my autograph. But I'm tired.
Yeah, I asked the times I've staffed my friend who does autograph signings. I actually talked to him and the company that manages there's convention managers or convention agents who, you have your own agent and manager that gets you television work, film work, and then you have an agent who just books you at conventions. And so I spoke to that organization and said, hey, do you coach people on how to sign? Do they work on a signature? With the concern being that it might be, reproduced somehow. And they said, yeah, they do a little bit of, try to help people if they need help figuring out autographs. And then we had fun doing our own. Did you guys ever practice your autograph from when you'd become famous?
I wouldn't say that I thought I was going to be famous, but I did work on my signature in high school because I was unhappy with it. And I just wanted to love my signature. And so
More flourish.
Well, yes. So I came up with a way that I use to this day. Although it's gotten a little loopier.
Does the A have ears over it and whiskers?
There's no
That's what I would
ears.
guess.
No.
And the T is a tail.
I like your ideas, though. I'm going to take this under advisement.
Yeah.
Now, Kat, just to clarify, the signature has become loopier, or you have over the years become?
Oh, I'm not sure which came first.
Both is an option. Now, John, every time you sign an autograph, is it the same autograph or?
Yeah, it is. It is. I have a little autograph that includes a little GXG initial in it because I practiced for when I was a celebrity and just it hasn't happened. But my roommate and dear friend in college, he had this calligraphy thing he would draw, and I told him, I said, Jason, maybe your autograph, your signature should not be so like structured that you could fake it easily because you're literally drawing it. He would take, maybe 20 seconds to sign his name. I'm like, that's those pauses, those starts and stops. I'm like, you're making it so easy to forge your signature in the future.
I think mine's impossible to forge.
Too loopy.
Yeah.
Yes, far too loopy.
Karen says, I've been to book signings with lines out the door. What are you doing? Oh, I have
See,
mine too.
GXG,
Should I
right
get
there.
mine too? I think I have
Yours
mine.
has
Hang
been
on.
defiled.
Remind me. Let me see if I think it's right here.
How did you have that immediately at hand, Kat? How do you?
Because I have all my cool stuff like related to the podcast and little toys and things like right.
Like if I
around
mention
here.
a Fraggle, you have a Fraggle in your hand. How do you do that? Look, you're doing it now.
Well,
You're doing it. It's exactly
not-
the same thing.
It's
There you
my
go.
costume.
Yep, there's
Yeah.
red. Yeah.
Don't you picture all around Kat? She's just got a structure that holds things. She just reached from the sky and pulled down that Fraggle
Right.
thing.
It's like a trellis of cool shit. Right? Just all around her.
Yes, like a scaffold. I
Pluck it
picture.
out of the sky. Yes. Yeah.
So Kat shared her GXG a picture signed by all three members of GXG. Which is, there's one photo with all three of them, and I have mine here. And I wasn't lying earlier. There's mine. See John and Mo, my two favorites.
What happened to the side there? I don't recall.
There's this piece that came with it. No,
That's weird.
At one
Mine's
point they were.
connected.
and mine was
That's
connected.
that's mighty odd.
Yeah.
There you go. Chad says
Razzin'.
CGC for grading comics will take the item over themselves and get it signed while you're
Ooh,
off doing
really?
other
Yeah.
things. So you don't even have to be there when it gets signed. All right, hey, another 1980s news. Oh, let me close my collectibles door over here. I don't know if it affects the sound at all.
Miss So said I'm a podcast ninja. Here's my pocket ninja.
And now you have a ninja.
I
You
know
just plucked a ninja off the trellis.
Will missed it.
I imagine the steampunk environment where all these things are on these like scissor arms that reach down from the sky, and they're all
Like Inspector Gadget.
yes,
She's
all
little
around her.
Gadget, Fraggle Rock. Hey, another 1980s news, as reported by the New York Times, The Outsiders wins the Tony for Best Musical. So there you go. I
Wow.
winded myself walking 3 feet.
Yep. I see that.
And this was the first time I knew there was an Outsiders musical.
Oh, even though we did a story about it on the show. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it didn't stick with me because I've still not seen the film or read the book. So
Oh, okay. Well,
Oh.
yeah, I never read the book, but the movie is good. It's definitely good.
I just watched it not that long ago. Yeah, I really enjoyed
I
it.
know.
Yeah, that's right.
I like how the New York Times writes this. They wrote a, quote, muscular stage adaptation.
Yes, I love that as an adjective for
Muscular
it. Yeah.
stage adaptation of the young adult novel about class conflict between a pair of high school gangs who won the coveted Tony Award for Best Musical on Sunday, June 16th. Now I'm picturing John and Kat's dads as a member of one of these gangs. The show's been gaining...
When you're a trucker, you're a trucker.
Yeah, that's right, the trucker gang.
The Greaser Trucker Gang.
Now I picture they got a crowbar.
It's axle grease, of course.
Oh, Oh.
Perfect.
I gotta
They
fix
just
my
reach down to the transmission and get a big gooey green glob of axle grease.
It's like in Back to the Future
quack.
when Biff tells George time to change the oil, referring to his hair.
Oh yes.
The show, The Outsiders, which has been gaining steam at the box office, is set in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1967 and is based not only on the best-selling novel by S.E. Hinton, but also on the Francis Ford Coppola 1983 film. Now, during the Tonys, they shared one of the numbers, and they also shared one of the fight scenes, which I want to talk about.
Oh my gosh.
But it seems to be gritty, I guess, is a way of describing it. They skewed the story, even making it even more youthful, focusing on the stories of these young people by eliminating virtually all of the adult characters that were in the novel and any I guess I'm trying to think of what adult characters were in the movie. There are probably a couple of glimpses.
There's not many. I really can't. I couldn't call anybody up. Oh, the junkyard. The junkyard owner who chased them out. Trying to think of anybody else who really stood out. Oh, wrong movie. Never mind.
Yeah,
Wrong movie.
I knew you'd get there. It also
Are you thinking of
features-
Stand By Me? Is that
Just gonna let it
that
keep
was a
going.
dog?
Do you remember when the ball went over the fence and they couldn't get the ball back because of the dog
I'm
and
watching
the
too
train
many
on the
movies
tracks?
in quick succession, and they're mushing together.
Yeah, and you couldn't get those things wet after midnight. The adults. Anyway, but back to this Broadway show. It features some of the most effectively vivid violence seen on a Broadway stage, using a mix of choreography and strobe lights and sound in a way that sounds like fists on flesh.
Yeah.
That it evokes the brutality that pervades this story of these two rival groups. Quite honestly, I knew about this and I thought it was going to bug me, and I've seen some smaller clips and I thought, that looks kind of dopey. I mean, it took like West Side Story type dance fighting and they made it worse. But I thought when you see the entire thing, though, I thought it was effective. The way they roll about in synchronous, because they're not always in synchronous, but ultimately they do, and they have these flashes of light where they're kind of in slow motion, and you see for a moment, suddenly someone who was perfectly fine a moment ago has a bloodied mouth, and then they disappear, and someone else comes out in a flash of light, and you see a blood streaming from a nose. I thought that was really visceral, evocative.
Good adjectives, along with muscular.
Thank you.
I didn't watch any other clips except for the one today. I loved it. Watching that fight scene made me want to see the musical. I thought it was so cool. And maybe it's because I love dance.
Yeah, and Kat remind everybody, folks, Kat is a dancer, trained dancer.
Yeah.
And a ninja, so she likes punching as well.
Yeah,
That's true.
absolutely.
She likes vivid violence.
It's really the confluence of her loves in one thing.
Dancing and battle. Yeah.
She's also a phlebotomist, so she loves the sight of blood.
But it was synchronized punching, which was a little weird. That part, it's still, I thought it was effective. The lighting was effective. The effects were effective because they're effects, I guess. But it was a bit odd that like they're all fighting exactly the same at the same moment and punching at the same time. I get why they did it. I'm not saying it was bad. I'm saying that was the one part of it. I'm like, it's like synchronized swimming, but fighting. And so they were all together, and it was slight variations, certainly. But the effects and lighting, super, super effective.
Absolutely. And I think I liked it. I mean, of course, it's not realistic. It's never, no fight is ever going to happen that way. But it was a thrill to my eyes. Because I love synchronous things. Everyone managing to do something at the same time is just something I really love. So
Yeah, I think it works. I don't know. Unlike Kat, I don't know that this will have made me any more interested because the music kind of turned me off a little bit. I think it was fitting. How it seemed to fit with the tone and of the era and the I guess the tone. I'm using the word tone again. The music seemed to fit with the era and the tone of the story. So in that sense, but it's the kind of music that I'm not interested in hearing people sing for 2 hours.
Yeah. And as you know, I'll watch a stage production of anything. I think live theater is one of the most captivating things ever. Watching it on screen is like, oh, now I know what's in it, but that's not the point. Like I saw the Hamilton when it came out on Disney Plus during the pandemic, and that was cool, but I don't feel like I've seen it.
Right.
Really. I haven't really experienced it. Yeah.
I agree with you generally, John. Yeah. Well, in spite of mixed reviews, the show's been playing to full houses, fueled in part by healthy interest from young patrons. And it's been grossing about $1 million a week, which is solid, it turns out, but not spectacular for a show of this scale. The hope, of course, is that the Tony Award will boost the box office.
Wait. Wait. Hold on. Sold out theaters, and it's not making enough money?
It's not that it's not making enough
money.
Wait a minute.
Hold on. It is right. But I mean, if you set your prices and you're selling out, you must have your prices set wrong if you're not making ends meet, right?
It's possible. And I actually do want to talk about that in a moment. Yeah, absolutely. Could be.
Maybe it's just really recent. Maybe it's just, over the
Like they're
past
just starting to sell
couple of
it?
weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I have 10 glasses of lemonade to sell, and I've spent 90 cents on them. And so I'm going to charge 8 cents per glass. Well, wait. If you want to make ends meet, you need to make sure that the volume you sell at the price you sell it will make up for your expenses. So if they're filling the house and not making enough money, that's either a venue or a pricing problem.
Yeah, I don't know if this, at least just this note here, suggests that they're in the red. I think it implies that they could be even more profitable if they were priced differently. But one of the challenges, probably like to Kat's point, being early on, is tickets are sold in advance. Once a show opens or before it opens, tickets are available for sale, and that's only after it's they stop selling them through a certain date because they honestly don't know if they're going to be open anymore. And now they can probably adjust the prices, for anything that hasn't been sold yet or scheduled. Among the show's co-producers is Angelina Jolie, who introduced a performance by the company on the Tony Awards telecast, saying, quote, "Society changes, but the experience of being an outsider is universal. To any young person, any person feeling on the outside, you are not wrong to see what is unfair. You are not wrong to wish to find your own path." And if you're unable to make the trip to New York City, where it's running right now, the musical's producers have announced plans to start a North American tour in 2025. Opening, of course, at the Tulsa Performing Arts Center.
Appropriately enough. Yep.
Yeah.
Kathy says, I have issues with the musical. I guess I think not with musicals. She said the musical, so maybe just a musical adaptation.
The Outsiders.
Of this particular.
Right. Not musicals in general.
Yeah.
So, let's compare and contrast because we've got these. Oh, let me see who we got here. Oh, Brandon says, I don't know about the musical, but I do like the Outsiders film. The only thing that seemed off to me was the school fire, which seemed like a stretch to progress the film's narrative. Huh. I never read the book, so I don't know if that's something they introduced just for the film, but I guess I could see what he means, because of what happens in the story, but not spoiling it for anybody, but I don't know. It didn't strike me last time I've seen it as being contrived.
Right. I didn't, having just watched it recently, and I'm not mushing this up with anything else.
Are you? All right.
Right. When they get to 88 miles per hour in the film.
They go back to 1967.
In Tulsa.
And then they do the swan or the crane. What am I saying?
Doc, are we socials or greasers? I don't know whose ass I should kick.
I did not think, it didn't seem like the fire was contrived to me, but I can see it played a very important role. Like, ooh, if that hadn't happened, it would have been a very different movie. So yeah.
That's because Kat's also an arsonist.
Another of her interests. Yeah. Punching, dancing, burning stuff.
So, John,
do you have a prop for fire? Reach, you got a lighter? What do you got?
I was looking around.
Nothing?
Oh, cat.
Stumped.
Sterno. As a way of, because I did want to talk about this. So here's the alternative, I guess, or a contrary production. Per Deadline, Heart of Rock and Roll closed after mere weeks at the box office. And I'm really bummed out about this because folks I know that have seen it raved about it, said it was hilarious and entertaining. We already know the music because it's the songs of Huey Lewis. With less than 100 performances, the musical built around the hits of Huey Lewis played its final performance at a matinee on Sunday. In a statement, producer Hunter Arnold said, quote, "It was pure joy working on the show with the team of creatives headed by writer Jonathan A. Abrams, director Gordon Greenberg, choreographer." All right, whatever.
I want to hear John's Foley of the Heart of Rock and Roll again. Did you hear him?
No, I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
I was doing the show, like the part I do. Okay, cool.
It's the lead in to the song.
Yeah. No, I love that that's in there, by the way.
I'm just doing a little Foley for you.
What you should do is you do that, and like I'll just talk uninterrupted, and it'll just color what we're doing.
That's what I did.
And people will enjoy it.
That's what I did. That's what I did right up until Kat asked me to do it again.
Oh, right.
And I worked really hard to not say anything about it at the moment. Really hard.
What happened afterwards?
I let you keep talking.
She gets at the curtain. She's like, right. This is Kat working the curtain. Hey, look back here, guys. Look back here. See what's going on. Check this out. Before she's leaning on the rope. No, don't do it. Don't do it. After. Check this out. Look what's going on back here. Anyway, per this, so let me give you some details. So we just talked about these folks they had, mixed reviews, making $1 million a week. And it cost, I do remember reading that it cost, I think, $22 million initially to get this show off the ground.
Wow. Yeah.
When they're showcasing it and developing it, in theaters before it gets to Broadway. But this musical, the Huey Lewis one, received lukewarm reviews. So that's not all that different than mixed reviews. I think it's slightly, maybe slightly more negative. Didn't receive any Tony Award nominations and has been struggling at the box office. Sometimes with the theater just half full.
Wow.
And just as a way of contrasting with The Outsiders, for the week ending June 9th, the show grossed a tiny $272,000.
Oh, wah wah.
That's rough.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think we certainly have talked about this before. We've all talked about our love for theater. John's already expressed as much just on this show alone.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, having the, what I thought was the good fortune to live where I did, I could go into New York City, pretty much, whenever I wanted to. Certainly as I got older, it was just a train station away from Jersey City, a PATH train ride. Mm-hmm. Certainly to get into New York, I guess it'd be another train to get into New York, to get to Times Square. So you go to Penn Station, I guess. And then, anyway, but
that might be air horn worthy.
What to know my way around New
Because
York?
he's been on a train?
Yeah.
No, because it sounded like you were like, yeah, it was so easy for me to.
But
I suppose.
And for me, I'm trying not to be hyperbolic, but I do think those experiences of seeing shows in New York, seeing live theater, like John pointed out, were influential in my life. And I don't mean necessarily just wanting to pursue theater and entertainment and those things, which I did. It was like movies, right? Certainly, in the sense that you got to see perspectives and stories that you wouldn't otherwise be exposed to in your life.
Yeah.
Stories that, and a lot of them are obviously they're fictional, but and the fact, like John said, that these folks there's actually humans on stage doing it adds this level of authenticity and reality that's not present in watching a film. Certainly not watching something on TV. Yeah.
There's no net. Yep.
Yeah.
And so those stories, they really sort of, embed, I think, on you, when you see them.
Yeah.
And at the time, my recollection at least was it was affordable enough for me to do that. My parents didn't have a lot of money, certainly for me to go seeing, sitting in the orchestra of some Broadway show. But I did see off-Broadway shows, and most oftentimes we went to the TKTS booth at Times Square, which you can get discount tickets.
Oh, yeah.
And you'd see whatever you could see. Like John says, all right, you look at the board when you get to the front of the line, what's the cheapest or most affordable and intersects with my interests.
Yeah.
I've never seen it. I don't know what it is. Let's go see that.
Or maybe have seen it, and that's okay too. Sometimes. Yeah.
If you loved it, you might want to enjoy it again. Yeah.
I've done that.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, I don't know. I do have some information here, and I'm going to tell you it. Maybe we could figure it out together. But I feel like we're at a point now, and I think I'm actually about to contradict myself with some of this, but that's okay. In my imagination, at least, anecdotally, the theater prices have gotten to a point where folks like me, a kid sneaking over from Jersey City, can't just go see a show.
I think that's entirely accurate. Yeah. For some shows, depending upon the show, certainly. But yeah.
I can't even imagine.
See? Yeah.
Go ahead.
I want to say it had to be, I don't know, 2013, 14, doesn't matter. But I went and I saw Book of Mormon on Broadway in their theater where it wasn't the first cast, but they were still huge. They had won their Tonys and everything. And nosebleed seats were $250 a piece.
Oh, man.
Yeah, wasn't cheap.
Oh, my gosh.
And John, was that getting it through a third-party vendor?
Wow.
Well, I was traveling, and so I probably went through the theater. I probably said, look, I Googled buy tickets for Broadway, Book of Mormon kind of thing. And maybe it was the theater or whoever their booking agent was. Maybe it was Ticket Bastards or whoever. Well, I don't know who it was at the time.
Probably,
yeah.
But it was not, and anywhere I went, it wasn't like it was $250 here and $100 there. It was everybody was, for me, for my family to see it, the three of us, it was $800. Yeah, it was.
Oh my gosh.
That's insane. Well, it turns
Worth
out,
it, but still huge. Not, as you said, you can't just come across on the train and see it, with your allowance anymore.
No.
So I did some digging just to check myself, reality with regard to my experience in the 1980s and certainly compare it to now. Broadway tickets, which were middle class fare in the mid-century, cost an average of $18 in 1980. Which was the first year that the Broadway League started actually tracking these numbers. So we don't know as accurately prior to that what they were. That would be about $67 today when adjusted for inflation.
Yes. Yeah.
Per an article I found by the New York Times at that time, and there were a few saying how ticket prices are outrageous now. Theaters may be shutting down because they're just out of control. Which, by the way, I've seen that article probably every decade, written, including most recently. Theater's not going anywhere. But per this contemporaneous article by the New York Times Magazine, they said, quote, the high cost of a Broadway show, end quote. And they also said that, quote, some people think that eventually the bubble will burst, end quote. Well, there's a time traveler from the year 2024. Bubble is not yet popped. Now the average ticket price is about $136. And I want to say asterisks, because I think John's experience is more accurate. If you're lucky enough to get a show directly from a theater early enough on, maybe you're paying that.
Yeah.
But as the show goes on, gets more popular, if you get a third-party vendor who snatched up blocks of tickets, you're not paying that anymore.
There's a huge difference between I want to see this show on this date, I need this ticket, and as you suggested, walking up to tickets at the booth there down from Broadway and walking up and seeing what's cheap, what's only $60 or $70. I have done that. Yeah. I saw Bryan Cranston portray, I don't know, some president or something. I don't know. I forget what that was about. Yeah. Great show. Saw Bryan Cranston. It was really cool. I had no interest in that story or that show, but it was the one that was available at a good price, and I saw it and loved it because it was live. Yeah.
And you wouldn't have seen it otherwise.
I would not have said, well, I'm flying on this date to go and see this play about some president, right? That's Cranston's playing. I would not have done that, but yeah. It's different if it's an event versus see what you can get at a good price.
Yeah, exactly. When I was in college, we a couple of times we would go in, a group of us, and see what was available. So that's how I believe that's how I saw Les Miserables. Before that, my first time on going to see a Broadway play was in high school, and we went as a club. Like there was some group, I forget what club it was, and I saw Cats,
Ninja Club.
Yeah, the Ninja Club, the Fraggle Ninja Club, and I don't remember it being. If it had been expensive, I wouldn't have gone. I would not have been able to go.
Yeah.
But I took my daughter on her. What's that?
Group rate, I'm sure.
Yeah, group rate. Oh yeah, I'm sure it was a group rate too.
Yeah.
I took my daughter when she turned 16 to go see Kinky Boots, and I was like, "What? Oh my gosh, what am I doing?" It was so expensive, but it was special enough. And one of the leads was a performer that she really, really, really wanted to see, and I thought, okay, you only turned 16 once, so we'll do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember hearing anecdotally that when Hamilton was in its heyday, that it was running upwards of $1,000 for a ticket. I remember hearing about that. Yeah. I never saw that, and certainly not that price.
And that's definitely scalpers. Our friend, Kat and I have a friend who is one of the producers of Hamilton. And so we were able, when I went to see it, we were able to buy tickets directly from the theater. It was under $200 to sit like the fourth row.
Wow.
I think it was $130.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Which, and I don't mean to say that's cheap necessarily, but I know what you're talking about, John. And yeah, you get them off of one of these, StubHubs or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But look, so part of my gripe is it seems certainly like it's more expensive, and as a result, you get a smaller and smaller, audience that can see these tickets. It turns out that maybe for a long time, however, theater tickets have been, it hasn't been middle class fare for very long, I don't think, or in a long time. But looking at one statistic from a 2013 study, the 80% of all tickets were purchased by Caucasian theater goers, and they were quite affluent compared to the general population, reporting an averaging annual household income of $200,000 or more.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, the kid who's middle class or lower middle class or poor, it's life changing seeing live theater. It's makes me sad.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are discounts if you can be flexible, like John's pointing out. Group rates, they have some based on age, some based on occupation, military, senior, student, for example. They had this one I read about. It sounds crazy. In April of this year, they did this thing called 20 at 20, which here's how you qualify. You can get a $20 ticket if you show up at the theater 20 minutes before curtain for 20 days.
What?
After that, they'll give you a $20 ticket. You've suffered enough, kid.
So for 3 weeks, you just got to waste your time standing there, and then eventually you'll get a ticket.
Wow.
That seems
Okay.
like garbage.
Now, with regard to the prices, I did find this recent article talking about how, because my main thing is like make them cheaper. But we're talking about maybe $1 million isn't a big windfall for outsiders. And according to this article, prices can't be lower, and they won't be lower. They're astronomical because the production costs are. To which I say, make simpler productions. I love Back to the Future. I don't know that I need to see a flying car, people zipping around on Segways, all this kind of shit.
Spider-Man swinging through the rafters.
Again, in the 80s, the shows were not that produced like that. And there wasn't one that I said, this is shit, because it just got a kitchen table and 2 chairs on the stage. That was fine.
Right.
I think I told you when I used to travel on the road all the time and I would go to those places and just see if there's any live theater. Yeah. I remember just one day I was free in Chicago and just went down to the theater district and walked up to the first theater that was open and said, what are they showing? I'll buy a ticket. And it was a bootstrap production. I think there were 8 actors total. And a lot of them were like Kat doing the curtains in between scenes. They were double dutying up on the crew. And I didn't like it any less because it has that same intimacy of just live theater. Look, they're taking it as seriously as the guys that you paid $150 to see.
Right.
Yeah.
And you feel it the same. It doesn't have to have all the glitz and glamour. I get that that's elevates it somehow maybe for some people, but I get the same charge out of it regardless of the caliber of the production, as long as the actors are as committed, and they always are. They always are, no matter how cheap or shoestring it is.
I've seen some great local high school productions where I was like, this is fantastic.
Just commit.
They're selling it. And talking about these production budgets, according to Stage Blog, they can often be 6 figures per week. So you can see why $1 million might not cut it when you add in the salaries and all that stuff. And also they go on to point out that prices won't be lower because with demand consistently surpassing the available seats, which aren't, plenty. They aren't plentiful.
Right.
For folks who haven't seen a Broadway show, you get obviously this perspective that this is Broadway. You've made it. This is where you see. The theaters are small. I think a big theater is less than 2,000 people, but you can be in a theater where it's just several hundred. Certainly feels that way. So they have to charge enough per ticket to make up for it. But because the demand is high, producers will charge as much as they can until people stop, until the market, changes. So they're not motivated to charge less, even if they can.
Yeah.
Anyway, there you go. There's my pet peeve of the thing.
And the thing about live theater too is there is no substitute for it, right? I can't go download live theater.
No.
I can't go rent live theater, right? It has to be in the moment, experienced in real time. And so that they have you over a barrel. There's one way to get it, and that's walk to the theater. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
And actually, Brandon says, I wonder if the cost of Broadway plays reflects the cost of the cost, maybe some extra word there. Try it again. I wonder if the cost of Broadway plays is parallel to the cost of music concert tickets. Plays and such are a one-and-done event, but concert tickets may be high to offset the cost of free streaming for albums available for free. I follow you, but I don't think that is right, only because obviously they're doing the concerts to make up for money they're not making. It's an additional revenue source.
Yeah.
So I
yeah.
think they're the same. You know, I mean, I think we're talking apples and oranges here. I guess is my point. Or we're talking apples and apples. Actually, I think the concerts and the plays are both run and produced and charged in a, for the money for that is for that. I know whatever. You know what I'm saying. All right. Hey,
sure he does.
So eloquent.
Yeah, whatever.
Hey, whatever.
All right. Hey, final thing about Broadway before I lose everybody. But this is also related to the 1980s. Per Billboard, Beach Street is headed to Broadway.
Yeah.
So it turns out the rapper Nas, who's a contemporary rapper, certainly someone who grew up in the 1980s, who was popular in the last few decades, is working on adapting the beloved 1984 hip-hop movie Beach Street for Broadway. He's working to expand and create new material inspired by the original film's soundtrack, for which he will also co-produce. He'll be collaborating for this adaptation with producer Arthur Baker, who actually himself was a co-producer of the film, a composer, and musical producer for the original movie. Arthur Baker has also produced a number of folks, stuff for Africa Bambaataa, New Order. I mean, he and this other producer, whose name I might get wrong, it's Robbie or Roby, R-O-B-I-E, are the guys who you wouldn't know them by name, but they created that sort of the electro beats that populated, that we sort of borrowed or, interpolated from like Kraftwerk and European bands and used it for hip hop.
Right.
Creating this other kind of electro hip hop, that just caught fire and then influenced dance music, like freestyle music. So Arthur Baker is part of that. A guy you may not know by name, but is a big part of that lineage. I'm hoping to talk to him one day. I'm trying to track him down and get a good contact for him. Anyway, the news regarding the Beach Street Broadway musical was announced on June 14th, just after a 40th anniversary screening of the film was at Tribeca Festival. And it marks the Queen's rapper first dip into the Broadway world. Of course it is, right? I mean, what else was it, I guess? According to Nas, quote, Beach Street wasn't just a film. It spread the revolution of hip-hop culture throughout the country and the world. It left an indelible mark, inspiring generations of young artists and creating new hip-hop fans alike, end quote.
All right.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with the film, it's, it's a cult classic now, certainly, but it follows a DJ. It's like all of the pillars of the hip hop culture. Right, you got a DJ,
a graffiti artist,
you got a graffiti artist, you got a break dancer. Let's see, there's two other pillars. Well, one of them is knowledge. What's the other one here? The other one is
the thing you're representing.
MC. The other thing would be MCing. So we don't have that, I guess. But they're in the South Bronx trying to make it during this burgeoning rap scene, and they're different. Or hip hop scene, they're all pursuing these different individual sort of lanes, within the culture. It was actually inspired by an original story called The Perfect Beat by journalist Stephen Hager, who sold the story to producer Harry Belafonte, who ultimately made the film. And it's clearly inspired by films that had just come out just a year earlier, really. In particular, Wild Style, which is a fictional film, and Style Wars, which is a documentary about that scene. Sure. In fact, Beach Street lifts a real-life graffiti artist character, this archetype, from Style Wars and creates a fictional version of him in their film. And just like Breakin', which I've talked about many times now, and we spoke with Lucinda Dickey just a little short time ago, which was released a month earlier. And you got to remember, the folks who were making Breakin', they heard that Beach Street was coming out, and they were like, work harder, work faster. Seriously. True story. They like, we got to get out first, and they did. They beat them by just a month. But those two films, combined, and certainly Beach Street, were like a primer for mainstream audiences as to what hip hop was. And for many people, it was the first time they saw this type of dancing. In particular, I guess you're familiar with graffiti by then. Certainly, if you lived in New York.
Sure.
It starred Ray Don Chong and Guy Davis, among others, and had cameos by a lot of up and coming hip-hop artists, who are now legends, like DJ Kool Herc, Dougie Fresh, Africa Bambaataa. And it featured heavily the dancers of real-life break crews, the New York City Breakers and Rocksteady crew. Anyway, there you go.
Awesome.
I'm a big fan.
Why would you go get an actor and try to teach them to do that when you have crews out there that are doing this?
Oh, and the battles are fantastic.
Oh.
When we were kids, just like breaking, we would just stay in the theater and try to bite all the moves. This is the symbol for biting. Bite all the moves, which you shouldn't do. It's not verboten. Anyway.
I can't wait to watch it. It's on my list.
All right. Hey, finally. Gosh, is this show long enough as it is? Shit.
I don't know. Is it?
Hard trying to pack too much in. This is an action-packed show.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do you have any comments related to this here? Karen says, I know it's not the same as live, but PBS great performance is a good thing to watch if you can't get to a theater. Oh, and for the past 5 Christmases, I saw my nieces in the Nutcracker. Yeah.
Nice.
Karen, you remind me, when I was a kid, before we went to actual Broadway shows, that's what we watched.
Yeah.
And there were tons of it. Do they still do that? That's great if they do it. There were so many shows that you couldn't see if you didn't live in New York. And we did, but I was just too little to go.
Yeah.
My parents would put that on. And my dad loves theater and loves musicals in particular. So that's how we would see it too. And Miss So agrees that the small theaters can be fun.
I'm not sure you're going to like what Chad had to say.
What did Chad say?
He says, I fell asleep when I saw Beat Street.
That's fine. Look, everything's not for everybody. That's fine.
True.
That was not on my list of 3 films I fell asleep in. So
I fell asleep watching Thunderdome recently.
Yeah,
that was at home. That doesn't count.
That I get. That takes a while to be
Wow.
Hey, finally, in 1980s news per CNN, this Star Wars figure broke an auction record. So on May 31st of this year, oh, wait a second here. What did we do? Okay. On May 31st this year, a Star Wars Boba Fett action figure which was released in 1979. And this one I'm talking about. So a Star Wars Boba Fett action figure, which was released in 1979, which was still in the original package, which would we say that on card? I think we say that, right, John? The collectors say.
Okay.
Carded? Yep.
It was carded. Sold for $84,000. But that is a pittance, it turns out, compared to the fee fetched by the Boba Fett that never was. By the way, I do have my
It was. It just
sort of. Here's my
turn it around.
Now this is doesn't have the J slot is just plasticed over.
Man.
Thing there. But the Fett that I'm referring to,
Non-firing.
which was never officially released in stores, has become the most valuable vintage toy ever sold at auction. Of course, we're talking about the rocket-firing Boba Fett action figure, which is modeled after the bounty hunter. It was purchased in Dallas by an anonymous buyer. Now, why do they always hide who they are when they do these things, right? People spend like a shitload of money on toys, and then they're like, I don't want anybody to know.
Okay. I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah, I want to know.
Because
Okay.
if you know where that expensive toy is and you find out where I live, two and two together.
Oh.
True.
Is that what it is? You're okay. Oh, wow. I never
That's
thought
why
of it
people
that
that win the lottery don't announce that they won the lottery because, well, for slightly
Right.
different reasons. People come out of the woodwork, but
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what
Yeah.
I thought. Suddenly you have a lot more cousins than you realized.
well, it's possible, right? But you can't give them that toy and share it. But certainly someone nefarious could go, well, if you bought it, if it's not in a safe deposit box, and you're not going to buy it and put it in a box, it's going to be on display in your house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like maybe my most expensive single thing is that ET cartridge that was dug out of the Alamogordo Desert from the burial in '83. I paid $1,000 for it. Is it in a box?
Wow.
Hell no. It is framed on the wall.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it's in your console.
No.
Finish that thing.
So when you spend that kind of money on a collectible,
Yeah.
that's a trophy. That's not buried in the closet. So it'd be easy to come, break in your house and gink.
So this is like the opposite of the lottery. For the lottery, all these people show up, right? For this,
Right.
there's, a few, like you said, nefarious. There's
Yep.
somebody who's going to target that toy.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
There's always
get it
somebody.
Yeah, I get it. Well, this gentleman from actually, I don't know, it's a gentleman. It could be, I'm assuming it's a gentleman because the article I read says most of them are men,
Yes.
and that makes
Wanting
perfect
to
sense, doesn't it? But this anonymous buyer paid $525,000, according to Heritage Auctions. It dethroned Barbie from the #1 spot she had held since 2010, when a version of the iconic doll. Boba Fett with the rocket firing beat in a Barbie that had a necklace made of real diamonds.
Right. Intrinsic value outside of the Barbie.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
Boba Fett
Well,
is
yeah.
just Boba Fett, except you can swallow the rocket. No.
But the Barbie only sold for 302,000. Yeah. Yeah, the Rocket Fett, as it's
Crazy.
sometimes called, was part of a mail-away promotion from American toy maker Kenner, which had sold popular toys from properties like Star Wars and Batman. I loved mail-aways, right? That was the most thrilling thing when they did those.
Yep.
In part, just because I loved getting mail as a kid. So I would write to anybody who I think would write me back. But if you got written back and a toy came with it, a Star Wars toy?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, over on Retro Days YouTube channel, they did a great piece on celebrating yesteryear about the excitement of mail-aways and how that mailbox was like magic, waiting for it and getting something. Even if it was just a letter that had something in it, you'd be like, it's for me. It's not for my parents, not for anybody else. I sit away for it. I got it. And it's going to be full of goofy stuff. You know, it's a Kool-Aid points redemption and who knows what a sticker, but it's mine. You know, it's awesome.
The only thing that I didn't like about the Star Wars mail-aways is I had to cut the card. I like to keep those.
Proof of purchase.
I was keeping all the cards because I thought it was like a cool little like poster almost, the picture and everything. But
Yeah.
anyway, I have a Zuckus because of a mail-away. I think I have somebody else too as a mail-away. But Zuckus,
wow.
I think you could only get as a mail-away. Or is it
I don't
for
know Zuckus.
LOM?
Who's Zuckus?
He's the one that, you don't know Star Wars very well. He's one of the bounty hunters.
Which one? Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Sorry, bounty hunter.
Gotcha.
Or maybe it was for LOM. Huh. Anyway, one of the bounty hunters. You can only get it from a mail-away, but I have him still. Anyway, so there, you got this Boba Fett. But they advertised they were going to do this rocket launching of Boba Fett if you did a mail-in. But Kenner ultimately decided to attach the plastic rocket onto the toy because it posed a choking hazard to children.
Yes.
Yep.
And ultimately, when kids received their Boba Fett from this mail-away, it had a note that explained why the change had occurred. Turns out that Kenner backed off releasing the missile-firing Fett after reports of another rocket shooting from a large, soon-to-be large, science fiction franchise, certainly not outdoing Star Wars, posed a choking hazard. I'm talking about Battlestar Galactica.
Yes. Yep.
Which, by the way, George Lucas sued them as soon as they were working on that. 'Cause he's like, you stole all my shit.
Yep.
The gall of George Lucas to say someone stole ideas from him.
We've got a vintage toy store here in town, and they have a box Cylon Raider that has the firing rockets.
Okay.
So they were released. That's not like those are super rare. This
Yeah, those came out.
having the rockets is what's super rare because they're not permanently attached. They're spring loaded and designed to fly across the room and behind the couch. You know.
I think it was my Micronauts that had rocket firing things, and they had fists that could shoot. You lost that shit like the second or third time you used it. And when I was a kid, I really imagined, like, is there like a black hole or portal or something? As I know it went under this couch, but now I removed all the furniture. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
And probably half of my friends who had the big 2-foot Godzilla with the firing fist did not have the fist anymore. It was
That's a big fist to lose.
I know. It's like it's like a baseball. It's enormous, but it's gone. Yeah, it's probably out in the yard somewhere in a tree.
Well, with regard to the Battlestar Galactica toy, in September of 1978, the show debuted on TV across U.S., becoming an overnight hit. And Mattel had already witnessed by then the success that Kenner had with their toy line. And so they snatched up the licensing for this TV show and got to work designing a series of Battlestar Galactica spaceships that fired spring-loaded missiles.
Awesome.
The toys flew off the shelves that season, very popular. On December 8th, 1978, however, their troubles with the toy came to light when the Consumer Products Safety Commission announced that there had been 3 formal reports of children inhaling or swallowing the toy missiles. Although John, you make me think. Because the toys had passed safety regulations at the time. What are those tests like? All right, hey, George or Bob. Hey, Bob, just stand still for a second. Hang on.
Okay. Yeah. Open your mouth. I'm going to try to shoot this rocket in your face.
Okay.
See if you swallow it.
Yeah. So At the time, Mattel agreed to put warning stickers on existing inventory to warn, parents and children of these potential danger. Yeah. But that wasn't the end, because on December 25th, 1978, a 4-year-old named Robert Jeffrey Warren was playing with a Cylon Raider ship when the missile discharged into his mouth and got stuck in his larynx. And unfortunately, just a few days later, he died of injuries he suffered.
Oh, man.
As a result, according to Kenner engineer Jacob Miles, he said, quote, projectiles were always touchy subjects, but when Battlestar Galactica had their issues, we immediately just shut it down and destroyed everything. End quote. So then if they destroyed everything, how did these get out? Well, some employees held on to some of the products, and they've been sort of bandied about and passed around, and really enthusiastic collectors have tracked down former employees or relatives of a former employee to try to find them. Toy dealer Brian Ratchfall, who represented the seller in Heritage Auction, estimates there's about 100 of these models in various types in circulation among the vintage toy collectors and hobbyists. Look,
that's the thing with being a collector. It's if you're a collector, you want to have everything. The problem is, as you approach having everything, your definition of everything gradually expands. You're like, oh, well, initially everything didn't mean variants. Now I guess I don't have the one with the pink jacket instead of the red jacket, so I want that variant.
Oh my
and then
gosh.
there's the one that's on the refreshed card, not the old card. You start to want more, and finally you run out of those things. And it's just those grail items, of which there are only 2 or 3 in the world, that can satisfy your new maximum definition of everything. Here's your value.
I was looking up the value of Star Wars action figures because I have some of the original ones. Okay, there's a couple more, but so here, Han Solo I discovered today. There's a small head version and a big head version. I had no idea. And little Yoda here, who has all his parts, I'd like to point out, he's got his belt and his cane and his snake. I did not know there was a variant that had Pac-Man eyes.
I didn't know that either.
Astonished, yes. So
well, now I need it.
This one does not have Pac-Man eyes.
There are lots of variants of the various figures due to different, being manufactured at different times, or different vendors who manufactured them for Kenner, who did them slightly differently from the other one, or paint. The paint dye they had, this one, they didn't have enough. They got to remake another thing, and it's slightly different than the. Now, look, I'm going to tell you, this is just an aside for us all on the show here, right? I don't know if I'm going to keep this in here, but
oh boy,
I'm a kid, I'm a 3rd grader, and I make a lot of crash jokes. Okay, so maybe we could just say this as a fact. Now, look, it's been a long time since a child passed away. I'm really sorry to hear that. That's horrible. That's horrible.
Yes.
But what disturbs me is what is purportedly from the lawsuit from his parents against Mattel at the time. So this would be a document that was drafted by their attorneys when suing Mattel, right? This is according to Star Wars Archive. So it looks like a copy of a court document.
Okay.
So this is part of their complaint. The toy is shaped... I'll read you the whole thing here. The trigger mechanism on the toy is too close in proximity to the actual loading area. So where you load the thing, the trigger, so you're loading the rocket, it's right near the trigger.
Right.
So small children are almost required to put their hand or finger over the trigger mechanism while attempting to load the toy. So you're going to create an accident by while you're loading it, just fire it. Right?
Okay.
Also, the toy is shaped in such a fashion as to be very similar to a penis, which almost beckons small children to put the toy in their mouth.
What?
I hope this attorney's in jail. He's up to some shit.
What?
Man, he's been a long time.
Oh.
I could see him reading that in court. And they're like, everybody's like, what, is it just me? Not you too? No, just me. Okay.
Beckons?
Arrest that attorney. And since the trigger mechanism is too close in proximity to the loading area, the trigger mechanism is usually hit by the children's teeth and the missile is expelled. I couldn't have said banana, popsicle. I mean, things kids actually would want to.
Hot dog,
yeah. Anything.
I can.
So, and even look, just say wiener and leave it ambiguous. You could do that.
asterisk or footnote. Let's see at the bottom here. Intentionally left ambiguous. Okay.
Everybody wins, right? You
Yeah.
could just-
Wow.
So look, as John alluded to just a moment ago, the market for these things is driven by nostalgia. So ultimately, the purchasers are going to decide what these things are worth. Unlike talking about
Yes.
theater tickets, where they're set based on
Yeah.
expenses. But so it's how you feel for this thing nostalgically, but also then it comes down to also, like John said, because he's an expert in this, the quality of it and the rarity. If every Boba Fett was carded, is still carded today, they wouldn't be worth that much.
That's right.
So you need that combination there.
Condition. It's like location in real estate.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't care what it is, what kind of shapes it in.
Yeah.
You don't buy anything at a vintage thing unless you go, is it in the box? Can I open the box? If it's never been opened, well, hallelujah. That's great. Now, what's the condition of the outside of the box? Still in shrink wrap? Not in shrink wrap? Condition. Yeah.
And John, as the official collector of the show, I wanted to ask you the veracity of this statement. I saw this article pointed out that, look, well, first of all, the article didn't need to point this out. Our show is in part based on the fact that nostalgia, or celebrating nostalgia, being reflective in this way, brings joy. You have a certain level of, dopamine and these pleasurable feelings.
Yeah.
So some experts, according to this article, suggest that even though collecting was already, on the rise in the last several years, that the pandemic was a catalyst for adult mainstream interest in toys because of the fact that they could capture these things from their youth. That would trigger a sense of, safety, wonder, joy that they didn't otherwise have because they're terrified of dying because of some, mysterious virus. At the time.
I could see that.
Did you purchase more during the pandemic?
Yeah, probably a little. Maybe go bananas, but I mean, look, you're working from home all the time. And especially I used to be on the road, like not even at home or in an office. So I was now super cabin fever, because not only am I not in an office, I'm in my house and not even on the road, so you have more time to browse eBay. You have more time to, when you're supposed to be doing work, that kind of thing. So I might have picked up 4 or 5 extra things that I might not have picked up had I been busier or not thinking about that in the pandemic. Sure.
Yep. Yep.
And it probably won't surprise you because we sort of alluded to this already, but now I guess that surprised me a little bit. Adults are the most lucrative consumer of toys. At this time in our history, they beat out preschoolers.
It's not volume. It's net.
Yeah, there you go.
Sure. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you're looking at volume, the toddlers
I didn't
are
consider
getting
that. You're right.
are getting the $3 toys. But
That makes a lot more sense.
Exactly.
Boba
You're
Fett
a
just
dollar
pulled in $500,000, so I'm guessing they're willing to pay more. Plus, there's this market. To your point, there's now a market of toys that aren't made for kids at all.
Sure.
Yeah.
These premium figures that they don't go to toy stores, they go to comic book shops.
Mm-hmm.
They go to conventions only. It's like, oh well, this is a premium Dalsim from Street Fighter 2, and he's got this outfit on, and 744 points of articulation, and 12 extra sets of hands, and kids don't want all that. They want the guys that they can go, yay, I'm fighting. We want guys we can pose and put in the glass cases, and there's a whole other branch of toy manufacturing now that caters to people willing to spend it for the higher end. Yeah.
I do see some of those hot toys that I'm lusting after. I would never spend the hundreds of dollars for them just to have it sit on a shelf, but I get the allure because of the detail. Yeah.
Right as you said, hot toys, Chad typed in hot toys. And so what is this? What is hot toys?
It's captioning.
Mondo.
Yeah. Oh, hot toys and Mondo. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the in the first quarter of 2024, those 18 and older spent more than $1.6 billion on toys for themselves, according to a report by Circana.
Wow.
I thought this was interesting. They said nearly half of adults who bought a toy for themselves in the past 12 months cited enjoyment and collecting as their motivation, but also socialization. What does that mean?
That caught my attention too. Maybe they're getting together with their friends and
4-year-olds
Oh.
having play dates.
If I had to guess,
Yeah.
it's trophy parades. It's look, look. Now I have it.
Sure.
I get to show you what I got. I posted on social, and you can put a little heart next to it, and look that. That's a social interaction. That look, this I'm not interesting. This is look what I got, and you don't have.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, that's where the socialization comes in, because you can parade that around and
That's interesting.
look what I was able to score. Look at my pickup. Look what I finally got one. And everyone is jealous, and you're like, they're not jealous of you. They're jealous of the toy, but it feels like it's you a little bit because you have it.
Yeah. And as a counterexample to the fact that nostalgia could drive the demand or the price for these things, this article from CNN warns that Beanie Babies as a caution, or provides Beanie Babies as a cautionary tale, because they say Beanie Babies were actually manufactured to be collected. In fact, they would only make a certain number of types of animals. They would discontinue certain ones without any particular motivation, and because they were made to be collectible and collected almost immediately, because folks were like, this is a market, they had no nostalgic value. You didn't have people hunting them down 20 years later. They were buying them as they came out. So interest plummeted a few years later, and the value of the dolls or stuffed animals followed. Yeah.
And will you talk about how you would save your cards because you thought they were nice to have, or, of course you didn't keep it on the card because you want to play with the toy. But Beanie Babies, at many places where you'd pick up Beanie Babies, Hallmarks, I remember specifically, they already came with that hard acrylic shell around the paper tag.
Right.
Because they knew you wanted to keep it pristine. And if the tag was bent, well, they wouldn't sell off the shelf because people weren't ripping them off and throwing them in the trash. So they came pre-protected from the stores. Whereas today, you can buy an action figure, you want to keep it, or maybe I buy an old Atari game or something. I have to get one of those protective boxes to put it in.
Yeah.
No, this market knew what it was. It pre-protected the items for investors because they knew they wanted to keep it pristine, the condition.
Huh. That's so interesting. Yeah. The backs of my Star Wars toys, the cards were not safe from me because.
Oh, you checked them off.
Well, no, here's what I did. I'd forgotten that I did this, but I rediscovered it during the pandemic. I cut out, how they show on the back of the card, here you can get all these other figures, right? So I cut out each of the little teeny tiny action figures, and I pretended that they were like trading cards for my dolls.
Oh,
that's cool. I like that.
That's a neat idea.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like that. That's awesome.
Not safe from me.
I do have a couple of my cards left over for some figures, and I did the ones that had the check boxes, collect them all. I did have a little pencil, like I penciled in the ones I had, which were most of them by then. Let's catch up on some comments here. Karen said, my brother got a mail order Serpentor from G.I. Joe once. Marcus says that 1977's red shag carpet was not a friend of the Viper missiles. I think you unlocked a memory for me. We had something similar like that where we had a type of carpet where toys would get lost, like Legos would get lost in. You'd find them eventually, not the way you wanted. Chad says he had the Viper as a kid. CD Arcade says, I think I bought more Steam games during the pandemic. Yeah, we definitely played more video games during the pandemic.
Yeah, video gaming was a market that did great, that unexpectedly, because people were at home looking for entertainment, and it was entertainment in your house. Yeah, video game stores did well.
Yeah.
And Miss So says, I wasted so much money on games the first 2 years of the pandemic. Wasted? Come on, be easy on yourself.
Right.
Enjoy.
No.
Maybe she hasn't played them yet, in which case it's wasted.
Oh.
That's what Steam does to you. It's like, it's such a deal, I've got to buy it. I'll never get to it.
Oh, no. Yeah. Well, as soon as she plays them, it'll be worth it.
It'll be worthwhile.
CDI Arcade also brings up something that we talked about briefly before. He says Funko, he or she says, CDI Arcade, they say Funko is the next Beanie Baby style product. They'll crash too. We've talked about that before. It's like, I just feel like there's so many of them. I don't really get the Funko thing. I think there's just way too many for me, maybe.
But they don't have far to go because they're not really, people collect them. Well, again,
secondary market.
I'm willing here where I'm like, as I speak, I'm contradicting what I'm thinking, but there certainly are some that are incredibly valuable and rare to get.
Yeah, I remember you told
But as you said, there's such a multitude of available ones that you can collect a whole bunch that you want, and you're never going to pay more than, $8, $10, $12 tops for one. They're not, and although these days, now that I'm thinking about it, some of them do sell in the protector already, I guess. That's for collectors. So
at the conventions, I do see, supposedly, but some of the rarer ones that go for, double digits.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about the market to know whether they're just marking it up because they're at a convention. And often, if the celebrity's there that can sign it, that has the related,
that
IP,
boosts it,
then they can get away with charging.
Yeah. I think what happens really is that Funko does so many deals with so many different manufacturers and distributors that you have Target exclusives and Walmart exclusives and Comic-Con exclusives, and those are the ones that become really more valuable. Or if you have a set of there are 12 in my Wreck-It Ralph collection. The guy they didn't make as many of, he becomes more valuable because people trying to fill that collection, the definition of everything, if they have to have the lesser characters, they cost more because they didn't make as many.
Yeah, that was the one you told us about, Wreck-It Ralph, I remember now.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Hey, that was our show.
And our show is brought to you thanks in part to our early adopters like Rick Parker and Karen Flieger.
Hey, Karen.
And thank you especially to our Secret of Our Success level Patreon supporters that we are collecting: Brendan Greer, Marcus Taylor, Tony Great, Nick Guillory, Matt Marino, and John Henderson.
Thank you so much, guys, for your amazing, amazing, wonderful support. Seriously, your contributions, not only monetarily, which are, they literally pay for the show, but so many of you also join us on our lives, send us messages on Facebook, or active on our Facebook page, and it helps us go emotionally and financially, so we're so grateful. Hey, if you're listening to the show and you've never done anything for us, what's wrong with you? I mean, seriously, come on. This is a quality show. Do something, won't you?
We need some dopamine.
This is the only thing you got to do on your Facebook, on your podcast app. Share the episode with somebody. That's it. Just one other person who doesn't listen. That would be enough. Seriously, that's what was this shampoo? What was the shampoo? And I'll tell a friend, and
they tell two friends, and they tell two friends, and so on and so on. Oh man!
Yes.
Yeah. Somebody in the comments will know what brand is that.
If you can, please do that. If you can actually give us money, that's amazing as well. Go to patreon.com/1980s now for more. Hey, look, you're going to probably hear me say it many times. Special thanks to Tony Great. Now that we've mentioned we're going to be at RetroCon, I do want to give him a particular shout out because this guy is, I don't know, he's among one of the most generous, certainly, people that we know. For a couple of reasons. One, in our community of retro stuff, he is a guy who creates. And John, if you guys can hang out for 5 minutes after, we'll do this thing, 2 minutes or whatever.
Of course.
Yep. Then we'll plug into the show. But look, he's got his own. He already supports the retro community by creating retro content. So for folks like you who love it, he's got a Retro Days, which is like John mentioned earlier. Celebrating Yesteryear, which is one of the many different programs they have on the YouTube channel, which you should definitely check out. But in addition to that, I reached out to Tony because I know that Retro Days is a sponsor of RetroCon. They have been in the past. And I said, hey, who can I talk to about maybe us, coming out there? And he gave me the contact info. And after we worked out that with the hosts, the owners of it, that they'd like to have us there, and they like the idea of us doing a nostalgia panel. Tony, again, out of the generosity of his heart, offered to pay for our hotel rooms.
Oh my gosh.
Offered to pay for our tickets. It wasn't even offered. He took care of it. He took care of our hotel rooms. He took care of our tickets, our expenses for us to be there. So
sweet.
Was not expected. We didn't ask for it. It wasn't a condition of us going. He is just that amazing and wonderful of a person.
Yes.
So special thanks to Tony Great. He is truly
I've learned about Tony. If he's in your corner, he's in your corner. He really is. He's enthusiastically throws himself into the things that he believes in, and he absolutely puts his money where his mouth is and supports the arts and independent creation, and he's wonderful in that way. So
and as a reminder too, he's a co-writer of Tommy and the Order of the Cosmic Champions. So it's just another retro product we've talked about in the past. Anyway, it's probably not going to be the last time we thank Tony, but I wanted to make sure at least to thank him this one time since we mentioned RetroCon earlier today.
Probably not. I have to say, I picture Tony as just like on the Frosted Flakes box.
With his finger in the air?
Yeah, with a neckerchief on, and they're great. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tony. I don't have any control over her imagination. She screwed up the Outsiders earlier. You know where she is. She's like...
Kat just sees everyone as some kind of cat. Is just how she is. All right.
All right, hey. We will imagine a great show next time, just as on par with this one, if not better. When we talk to you next time on 1980s Now.
Until next time.
Boba Fett.
Oh, gosh. Rip Roger Jeffrey.
No.
His name was.
A wiener.
Yeah, the next thing the attorney was like, let me demonstrate, Your Honor.
I can't. Oh, man.
Bailiff, front and center.
Your Honor, you're going to have... Your Honor, you're going to have to remove the handcuffs, though, for me to be able to fully demonstrate this. He's going to jail. All right, hey, should we just do it now? I guess we can hang up and do it. We should probably hang up and do it.
Sure. Oh, Fabergé Organics. And they tell two friends, and
Really?
they tell two friends.
Wow.
Is that what it was?
Fabergé.
I thought it was more mainstreamy than that, but I'm going to believe you.
Fabergé.
Fabergé. Brandon suggested Vidal Sassoon or Sassoon, but they had that
I thought it
commercial.
was-
Ooh, Vidal Sassoon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was Vidal Sassoon, too.
Well, I
Probably
think it is,
my-
but yeah.
Probably my favorite shampoo campaign, and not just the campaign, the name of it was the G Your Hair Smells Terrific. I think that's
gosh.
Yeah, that's terrific.
it's just so, it's like Got Milk. It's so just like, what are we going to call it? Call it what somebody says when you wash your hair. Call it or call it wow, or call it no, just gee, your hair smells terrific. Like that's a
wanna
little wordy.
see it.
No, go with it. And printed like 17 different rainbow colors on the front of every bottle.
I had this idea a long time ago. I never did it, of course. It's not easy to do. But we show like retro commercials, and then you show the after part. And we'd have to shoot it in a way that seems like it's the same commercial, do some effects, some filters to make it look low res, but have actors that look similar.
So reproducing it. Okay, got
Yeah,
it.
no. Well, yeah, I guess you might have to, right? What I was really thinking was you take the original and then you cut
Okay.
in something at the end. So, gee, your hair smells terrific. Then you cut to these two people in an HR office where the woman is complaining about this guy who keeps sniffing her hair. And then the next shot
Every
is him on
time
the
he
street
walks
with a
by.
box.
I don't mind
shit.
so much when he goes. It's the part at the end where he goes, oh.
His hands are in his pockets.
If he stopped at the smell,
And he
be
keeps,
okay.
he keeps talking about his Cylon Raider. What the fuck is he talking about?
No.
Cylon Raider. Or his, what's the Viper? Colonial Viper?
Cylon Raider?
Cylon Raider
Colonial
and a
Viper.
Colonial Viper. Yeah, right, whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't use that shampoo, but one day I was walking along. This was after college, walking across the campus where I was working at the college I went to. And there was a work crew right at this little road I was crossing over. They were doing something on, I don't know, they were doing something on the road. And as I passed by, one of them said, you smell good.
Run!
How much did you use?
Are you kidding me? I don't know what I
They
used.
could smell you from the construction site?
Well, it wasn't like a huge site. It was, but I was probably like 10 feet away. And oh my God, like, I don't know what I was wearing or had
Like
on
I
that day, but
picture predator vision, and there's this cloud behind you, this wafting vapors of shampoo smell.
Yeah.
I was like a little terrified and quickened my pace.
Maybe he was a werewolf, and his lycanthropy had given him, when in human shape, extra smell perception. So we'll
I
go
love
with
that you said lycanthropy.
Brandon and Karen both brought up herbal essences from the 90s. Brandon says, I actually love those commercials with Julie Louis-Dreyfus whipping her hair and yelling, yes, yes, yes. Of course, I saw it as a teenager. Well, now you have another performance, Brandon, to enter your dreams. Fantasies. Yes.
No extra charge.
There you go. Was it multiple MIGs? I don't know what Al was talking about.
Migs.
Is that a hair? Is that a shampoo? Oh, I don't know. Sounds familiar, but I don't know what it is.
Look it up.
I don't know.
All righty, let's do some work so we can get out of here.
Okie dokie,
One last
smoky.
bit of business. All right, guys. Hey,
After a while,
thank you so
crack it
much. Love you all. Everybody be
Oh.
safe. Have a good night.
Multiple
Thanks for
MIGs was
being
an
here.
inmate at the Baltimore State Hospital for the criminally insane.
Oh.
Maybe that's who it was.
Oh, wait, is this the Silence of the Lambs guy?
No, I think this is a comic book reference thing.
Do you
It
remember
is.
Silence
He
of
was
the Lambs?
placed
The guy
in
who's
the
like,
cell next
I
to
can
Dr. Hannibal
smell you.
Lecter.
He says something bad. I'm not going to say it. He's
Was
like,
that what it
I
was?
can smell you. Silence of the Lambs. I can smell you. And Hannibal Lecter's like, unfortunately, I do not have the perception that so-and-so has.
I thought he was going down the werewolf angle, and it was just there we go. You win, Al. You stumped me.
All right. Good job, Al. So he knows. So Al knows that.
Yes.
Yes.
He doesn't know other trivia, John, necessarily, but he knows. All right.
Oh man.
Wasn't it Al who let you down that time?
Oh,
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It was your friend Michael.
Right. Yeah. He was your
phone a friend.
Michael.
Oh, yes.
What was his
Right. It was Michael Creamer
Michael
who let me
Creamer,
down.
Yes,
Now,
yes.
no, Scrutable Al would never have let me down during the trivia. I'm sure
So now
he
you
would
know.
have nailed it.
You know next time.
Never. Yeah.
That's right.
All right, everybody. Have a good night. We'll talk to you again next week. Bye.
Good night.
Bye. And I'm not stopping.
Yeah, so I'll just do this.
Wait, are we supposed to end the stream?
And we're still live. Hi, everyone. We're back.
So I'll just do this. I hate all of
Now,
our